Ecole Lacombe Composite High School's EcoVision has officially unveiled the name of their educational pollinator Indigenous carbon capture garden. The garden will be located just beside the school's sea can goat barn and includes several species of Indigenous plants.
Great term for this is Ogawi Mawaskis is that's a term of Mother Earth. The reality, Mother Earth is big. We're all children of Mother Earth. So now, it's very heartwarming for me for the original peoples to be recognized now. But we're still all equal. And so it is a start of something that's going to move forward, and I believe it's going to get bigger with all of your help.
The students at the school celebrated the naming ceremony by taking part in various Indigenous workshops throughout the day, including beading, dancing, drumming, living roof sessions, ribbon skirt making, storytelling, and a powwow.
Today, in like 2.5 hours, it was super speedy. And then there was teachings along with it, so the ribbons that you choose are supposed to represent things, so they always kind of said you pick 4, and you have one with the sun and the earth or something in this. Anyways, yeah, so I chose my ribbons to reflect like the vegetation kind of on my skirt, the berries.
EcoVision program facilitator and high school teacher Stephen Schultz says the garden was started by a student who desired to learn more about Indigenous culture and plants 3 years ago. Schultz says there are countless opportunities for students as well as people in the community to make use of the garden.
All classes can go out and enjoy the beauty of the gardens. There'll be signs beside each plant describing their uses, but also have a QR code where they can go back to a website, and on that website will be our Indigenous elder explaining the value that the Indigenous people had for that plant, as well as other resources and eventually recipes.
As an added bonus, the garden will also improve the school's sustainability and help the school's beekeeping program by providing a space for pollinators.
What this garden means to me is it's kind of like a pathway for me to be able to learn more about Indigenous culture that I wouldn't otherwise learn about, while still learning more about keeping the environment cleaner, and learning more about sustainability with permaculture infrastructure, which is another aspect of our garden, as well as learning about pollination and stuff like that. And the plants themselves are great to learn about too, because then it can be used for like so many different educational purposes.
The garden is also an act of reconciliation for the school.
Well, today is March 21st, spring equinox, but also United Nations Day against racism. And our Indigenous people have encountered lots of racism or injustices. So today is symbolic for many reasons, one being that we want to return the honor and respect that our Indigenous peoples deserve. We want to celebrate their culture. We want to celebrate the plants that they took painstakingly the history of how to harvest them, how to process them, and how to use them to treat illnesses, but also for herbal medicines and for edible purposes. And then on top of that, it's our Indigenous bees species that are also benefiting from this amazing garden.
I learned more about beading today, something about my culture, and it just makes me happy to learn that everyone gets to learn this stuff, same as me.
Before we started the Epic Garden, I wasn't educated on what Indigenous really means. I didn't know what it meant. I didn't know what you are when you're Indigenous. I learned a lot about that today, and I still am.
The students of EcoVision will continue to work on Little Mother Earth as the weather begins to warm up, building a bridge and rain garden, and will be adding a few more plants to the garden. For Lacombe Online, I'm Amy McInnes.